Hey everyone, and welcome to the third episode of MCUEx, your #1 source for MCU news, reviews, and discussion. I'm Addie Hays, and with me today are Doug Herring and Jeremy Stewart.
Hey everybody.
Hey guys.
Alright, so first up on today's show, the weekly headlines, where we run down the biggest news of the week and get in as much discussion as possible before the time runs out. So, our first news of the day. On Monday, the first full trailer for Season 2 of Daredevil dropped, heavily featuring Punisher and the differences and similarities between the two vigilantes. The trailer also teased a part 2, which will drop next Thursday and will likely focus on Elektra. With 90 seconds on the clock, let's talk about this teaser.
I think we all loved it.
Yes.
I think it looks fantastic. It looks like they've taken what they've learned from Season 1 from Jessica Jones and are just expanding. I love the way John Barenthal looks as the Punisher. Some of the lines he was saying just fit so well with what I think that character should be.
Yeah, the lines that you're talking about, I assume, are like, you hit them and they get back up, I hit them and they stay down.
Yes.
You're one bad day from being me. What else was there? Oh, I think you're a coward.
Yeah.
I love those. I think you're a half measure. Oh, those were such great lines. Barenthal has said he thinks his Punisher is going to be hard to like, and I don't think we realized how true that was until this trailer.
And I think that should be very true, though.
Yeah, for sure.
I also liked the one little bit of Elektra at the end.
Yes.
Where he is coming into his apartment, he doesn't know anything, and he hears just something very small, and she's just sitting there and calls him Matthew.
Yeah. I mean,
it's so sexual.
Yeah. And the other thing we were talking about earlier was that our antagonist for Season 2 of Daredevil is Punisher.
Right. It's not gonna be like Civil War or Batman v Superman, where they're against each other, but then they team up to fight a greater evil. No, Punisher is the greater evil. Probably near the end, he'll become somewhat more of an anti-hero, but at least for the first chunk of the season, he'll be a straight-up villain, I think.
Yeah, and they didn't really give anything away except like that they're very similar but also different. So I'm really happy they didn't show anything really plot-wise.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Great.
What's next?
All right. We've known for a while now that Hulk will be joining Thor for a galactic road trip in Thor Ragnarok. However, it appears as one more MCU character might be joining the movie. According to a new report from the Australian paper Gold Coast Bulletin, Samuel L. Jackson has been reported to be making an appearance in the third Thor installment. In 90 seconds, let's talk about this report and what Nick Fury's role might be like in Thor Ragnarok.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know how reliable the newspaper is, but assuming it's true, it's weird. I think it'll be weird unless he has a very small role, like Age of Ultron level role. Because I don't think very much of this movie's going to be taking place on Earth, and I don't see Sam Jackson going into space.
Like that's where I'm confused. Like, is it going to be like so small that he's like, when Hulk's in his little plane, he's going to like come in on the TV? But I don't.
Right, he'll FaceTime with Hulk in the Quinjet.
Why would they do that with Samuel L. Jackson?
I mean, the other thing is this could be the start of humans going to space, which is eventually going to have to happen in Infinity War.
That's a fair point.
So it might be our introduction of Fury, Hulk, and Thor all get taken to Asgard, and Fury. I mean,
you're right. It could be. I don't see Samuel L. Jackson playing that big of a role in this movie.
I don't either. But
it's also like, why would Nick Fury need to go to space? Like, that's where I'm just really like, why?
Well, because he's still in charge. So I think it'd be.
Is he though? He's not in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D.
No, he's not in.
I guess
on screen as a commanding presence, he is still very, very much, I think, one of the in-charge characters.
Yeah, and all the Avengers still look up to him.
So this is my point. Like, so he might have to like take that first step, because technically Tony's already been to space.
Right.
But we'll see.
Wasn't a good trip.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Weird report. But what's next?
Although it's been widely assumed that Ant-Man writer Adam McKay would return for Ant-Man and the Wasp, McKay has insisted that he wasn't sure if he'd be back for the sequel. However, in a recent interview with Nerdist, McKay has finally confirmed that he will be involved in the rewriting process for Ant-Man and the Wasp. Interestingly enough, however, while he confirms his involvement, he continues to be unsure as to what extent he'll be involved, saying, "It looks like I will be involved. I don't know if it's going to be right from page 1, but it looks like I will definitely be involved." Guys, with 90 seconds on the clock, what do we think about McKay returning for the Ant-Man sequel? Well, I'm super pumped. I love McKay. I saw Big Short like a month ago. I loved Ant-Man. Like he's one of my favorite comedy directors and writers.
Yeah.
Of today, so like I'm happy that he is involved. I hope that he's involved more than he's saying right now.
I think one of the things he's gonna have a problem with is because he's coming off The Big Short.
Yeah.
The other offers he's got on the table of
Sure,
what projects he wants to do.
And I think that's probably why he is not confirming how much he'll be involved, because he probably doesn't know exactly.
And I think the other thing is the last Ant-Man was a kind of a rewrite from Edgar Wright's
and Joe Cornish's script.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
and
right.
so this is coming not from that was what, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years in development hell?
Well,
depending
in various stages of development, yeah.
But that script had been, or some version of that script had been around for a while, and this one's coming straight from the ground up.
Right.
So, it'll be interesting to see who else gets hired on to write.
Yeah. And I'm sure Paul Rudd, if it's not confirmed already, I'm sure he will be, because he wrote on the first one. So I'm sure Paul Rudd himself will be taking a crack at the script as well.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be mostly the same team, minus Wright and Cornish. But yeah.
I also think they have a very good basis to work on from the first one. They have, especially with like Michael Pena and T.I., they have, it's not like they have to introduce these other characters. They can now just expand.
They have their crew.
Yeah, which is really nice that, I mean, they're going to have a new villain, but that's really, we're not going to be introducing anyone else new, I don't think.
Fair enough.
Great.
What's next?
Right.
As Agent Carter's season finale draws closer, that also means that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is only a few weeks away from its return. While we discussed the rumor of Natalia Cordova-Buckley as the Inhuman Slingshot in last week's episode, Marvel has since confirmed the news and showcased the speedster in our first promo for episode 311 titled Bouncing Back. In 90 seconds, let's discuss this casting news and our first look at the mid-season premiere.
So I'm going to focus on the tiny, like 2 frames of Coulson talking to President Ellis.
Yes.
Which is a very interesting move for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because that means that I think S.H.I.E.L.D. is being reinstated.
Right.
I was always thinking it was going to be at the end of season 3. I'm now thinking it's going to be in a couple episodes, and then they're going to have to rebuild S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a show that moves quickly, so I'll agree with you on that point. If Coulson's already having higher meetings with the president...
I mean, you don't get a higher meeting, really.
Well, I mean, I think Ellis has appeared on the show before, always on a screen or in another location, but I think we're going to see Gideon Malik as this really high-up government official, as well as probably Talbot. We'll see him return, and I think Civil War. Because it's so political, I think there's a good chance that we'll see President Ellis in Civil War.
Oh,
I have no doubt.
And so this kind of overlap between the politics of TV and the politics of the show, and the strength of these Inhumans that we're getting, I think it's going to get harder and harder for the show, for the movies never to address what's happening on the show.
Yeah, and I'm also super excited for the one shot that we had of Ward. I love Ward as the bad guy, but
decomposing.
He was so disgusting and awful.
The thing is that Ward anymore, or is that whatever took him over?
Yes, I think the answer is yes. It's both.
It's both, which will be a really fun interplay.
Yeah. But that was what I thought was most exciting about it.
And as we get more news on that, we'll keep talking about it.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, that airs in just a couple weeks, too.
Yeah, I think March 8th is the day.
Which is, that's 2 weeks away.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah.
Cool.
Wow.
So,
for those of you who want to avoid spoilers for Captain America Civil War, you'll definitely want to skip ahead about 2 minutes to our next segment. Although Colby Smulders has not been officially confirmed to reprise her role as former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Maria Hill in Civil War, sources close to production have exclusively told MCUExchange that not only will Hill make an appearance in the film, but will play a pivotal role. While she begins the conflict siding with Tony Stark, she eventually betrays him and even sabotages his suit. We're told that this is a major turning point in a key battle of the film and may be responsible for turning the tides towards one team. Guys, with 90 seconds on the clock, let's discuss this exclusive report.
So this is an MCUExchange exclusive, and we just want to, we're sure about this source, we're confident in it, but take this as an unconfirmed report right now. So this is not set in stone or anything. We can still treat this as a rumor. But I think it's really, really cool. I think it's going to happen. There have long been rumors about different people maybe crossing over or betraying somebody. I think the trailers, it looks like it's going to be Black Widow, or it looks like it was going to be Black Widow, and maybe it will be, but I think Maria Hill, who has sort of been working for Stark since Winter Soldier, I think her betraying Stark is a really, really interesting turn of events, and I think it's going to have a huge impact on the movie.
I think it's one of the smartest choices because she's one of the sidelines. She's not like a superhero. She's not going to be in that big fight, supposedly.
Right.
She's pulling the strings. So I actually really like that choice that she's the one that kind of changes the tide.
Yeah, she's a manipulator in the comics,
Yes.
I mean, and they haven't really done that in the movies so much.
The other thing is, if we're talking about President Ellis, is that an order she gets to betray and take, depending on, right?
Well, I don't see that because Stark is working with the government.
Yes. I mean, it doesn't have to come from Ellis, but we've always seen Maria Hill taking orders from someone. So is this an order from somebody, or is this she decides she's breaking out and doing it on her own kind of thing?
Yeah, and one last point before, I know our timer is gone, but I think an interesting thing, since we were talking about S.H.I.E.L.D. being re-legitimized, I don't think we'll ever see Coulson make a major appearance in the movies again, as much as I want to. But I do think we might see S.H.I.E.L.D. make an appearance in the movies again. And I think Maria Hill would be a perfect new director or public face of S.H.I.E.L.D.
For sure.
I totally agree.
So yeah, cool. What's next?
Agent Carter aired not one, but 2 episodes of its 2nd season on Tuesday night. Episode 6, titled Life of the Party, and Episode 7, titled Monsters. For an in-depth discussion, make sure to tune into our sister podcast, It's All Connected, on MCUExchange.com. That being said, let's briefly talk about our thoughts on this week's Agent Carter. I wish Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. Well, it's soon enough. I had trouble watching these 2 in a row. Then again, I watched them back to back, no break. I think my break in between was going to my refrigerator and getting something to snack on.
Right.
I got a little, just frankly, I got a little bored. There were moments I loved throughout both of them, and I think if they had been from 1 week to 1 week, it would have been fine. But the show gets, for me at least, got a little gimmicky and shticky. Like, with the exception of when Jarvis goes full-on protector mode, which I loved.
When
Anna's in danger, which was phenomenal. His whole thing got a little old. Peggy being injured got very old very quickly for me, because every scene she was in, everyone was like, oh, you're injured, oh, you're injured. And I was like, we get it. She can't walk. She's injured.
Well, in the second episode, she actually wasn't injured.
She wasn't, but
she's
still
moving around a little bit.
Kind of still sidelined. And for me, it got very... Whitney Frost's evilness got old for me. It just all felt like it got a little stale.
Okay, I'll disagree with you. I think I didn't like these episodes as much as I liked last week's episode.
Yeah.
But I do think that these were more compelling episodes, especially episode 7, Monsters. I think, the Anna and Jarvis thing is amazing. I love that. Anna's been underused this season. I wish we would have seen more of her so far. And if they brought her just to kill her off, that'll be disappointing. But
I mean, I was hoping when they were talking about sending someone in, and instead of choosing Dottie Underwood, I wish they'd chosen Anna instead.
Would have been a better choice, right?
I
had problems with the logic behind breaking Dottie Underwood out, but I was happy to see her return anyway, so I'm not complaining too much.
No, I'm happy to see her on the show. Yes.
Well, the thing with Anna, when they casted her, I kind of assumed that something bad was going to happen to her anyway, so I wasn't really surprised that she got shot, especially right when they came into the house. I'm like, oh god, Anna's going to do something. But I will totally disagree with you about Jarvis's outburst of if you ruin this, if Anna gets hurt, he's going to get...
No, I loved that.
No, you said that it got old. I did not think it got old. It's one of the best moments that Jarvis has had, and I just love the immediate, he grabs the gun and he's like, we're going.
No, the part of Jarvis that got old for me was not that part. I thought that was really refreshing and really nice. The part that got old for me was his kind of bumbling around, not really ever knowing what to do.
I love Jarvis.
I do too. I think it is endearing once a week. But for me to sit through, again, I sat through it in a straight hour and a half.
So did I, and I loved it.
I thought it got old in the second episode. I was like, great, we're still doing this.
Well, I actually watched episode 6 the night it aired, and then I watched episode 7 the next day. And I actually liked it a lot that way. The whole binging of the 2 episodes, I wish they did that in the first half of the season, because the first half of the season felt a lot more like setup. So I had, if I had a lot more setup binge, I feel like that'd be better than like all the like more action happening and all the plot points not being binged.
Right. And we have another doubleheader next week. So next week I will try doing that and see what happens.
I liked it. It was good.
Great.
Cool. Our next segment this episode is our main discussion of the day, where we debate something about the future of the MCU. Today's discussion is inspired by Marvel's official announcement, synopsis, and cast of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. The report has confirmed Kurt Russell, long rumored to be playing Star-Lord's father, will appear in the film, as well as Pom Klementieff as Mantis. 2 newcomers, Elizabeth Debicki and Chris Sullivan, were also confirmed, though their roles are still a mystery. Marvel also released the first official synopsis of the film, reading, set to the all-new sonic backdrop of Awesome Mixtape Number 2, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 continues the team's adventures as they unravel the mystery of Peter Quill's true parentage. Guys, in light of all this Guardians of the Galaxy news, our main question today is, which piece of new information are we most excited about?
I think, straight off the bat, we're all most excited about Awesome Mix 2.
Yes.
But besides that, I am a huge Kurt Russell fan. I have been a Kurt Russell fan since I was like 15 and saw some of his older 80s movies that I will get into in just a second. I think it's rumored that he's playing, as I've now called him, Star Dad.
Yes.
I think he's gonna rumored that he's playing Peter Quill's father. Which I'm very excited for, as the angelic being he's described as. And for me, Kurt Russell, who's coming back this year between Bone Tomahawk, which is a very, very small indie western film that was made. That's, if you want a slow-paced, phenomenally acted western, go watch it. It does get extremely graphic in the end. I will give you that warning.
Speaking of graphic.
And the Hateful Eight, which again,
so great. He's phenomenal in it.
I mean, he's a phenomenal actor, and he does this, at least now, he's doing this more washed up, older, wiser, still a badass character. Can still sling his guns, can still take care of people, but at the same time he's got this wisdom. And if we look at him in his 80s best, which are gonna be, if you haven't seen him, I would strongly suggest checking out the Escape from New York and Escape from LA movies, Tombstone, and Big Trouble in Little China. He plays these absolute badass, full-on action, full-on hero, save the damsel, let's get some 80s camp action in there, guns, rock soundtrack kind of thing. So I'm seeing him play that character, but older, as Peter Quill's dad, as someone who went around the galaxy, kicking ass, taking names, and is now got, again, that wiser. Hopefully he keeps the mustache, because the stash is awesome. And he brings such a, and especially in Hateful Eight and Bone Tomahawk, there's such a human, not even human, but like a soulful characteristic that he brings to these roles that I'm excited to see when he confronts long lost son.
He's also just a great addition to that cast. Like,
I think we can all agree that we should be excited about that. But that's actually not what I'm most excited about.
It's Awesome Mix Number 2.
Yeah, well, okay, other than that.
I'm most excited about.
Well, okay, what are you most excited about?
Well, in the picture, there's a little baby Groot.
Yes, yep.
What? I am so excited for baby Groot. Now he's out of his little,
pot.
Pot, that's what it is. In an interview that James Gunn did, I think with Yahoo, they asked him, is Groot invincible as long as he gets stuck in water? But he responded saying, that's an unanswered question. Is baby Groot Groot? Or is baby Groot actually Groot's progeny? And then another question they asked him was, so does Groot look exactly the same when he grows up again? Or is each Groot iteration like a snowflake, unique? And Gunn said, you'll have to wait and see until he gets big. He's still a baby right now. So this kind of like whole idea that I don't think Baby Groot is like Big Groot. I think it's like a new Groot.
Yeah, so what you're saying is like in a lot of ways it's a new character.
Yeah, which I think would be totally awesome. And then also is it still Vin, like how
it's still Vin Diesel. Yeah, they did confirm that Vin Diesel is returning.
Like performance with his voice.
Oh, I'm sure they'll alter it in some way to make it, or not. Just have like this 6-inch thing talking in like that deep Groot voice.
That's what I'm like. I think that'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
Well,
or if Vin Diesel actually does a different voice, like they don't alter it, that he does a little like whatever.
I'd love to see Groot trying to do or Vin Diesel trying to do a squeaky voice.
The other question is how fast is Groot going to grow up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, true.
That's my big thing with little baby Groot is how quickly does he go from this big to full size?
Yeah.
Because now he's kind of like the size of, like in the picture, he's like a size of someone's head.
Yeah, he's standing on, I think, Drax's shoulder.
Yeah, and he was like this big at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy. So
we also don't know how much time has passed between 1
That's
and
a good
2.
point. That's a good
We don't know if it's happening like 2 days
They
after.
might be flying off Xandar and going straight to Quillstaff.
And Groot's like already out of his little pile.
Right.
But no, I think we're kind of excited about the same thing. You're excited about Groot maybe being a new character. I'm excited about new characters.
Yeah.
We don't know who the other cast members are playing yet, but we do know that Pom Clementif is playing Mantis.
Yeah.
If you don't know Mantis' origin story,
good luck.
Yeah, good luck. Go look it up on Wikipedia. It is not entirely inaccurate to say that she is the mother of space plant Jesus.
Like actually.
I mean, there's a very complicated story, and I'm sure that they're not going to get into that. I mean, when you look at all of the characters of Guardians of the Galaxy, Gunn has really simplified most of them, except maybe Rocket. I think we'll see more of Rocket's origin.
I think that was in an interview too, right?
Well, it's hard to remember what Gunn has and hasn't said because he always does those Facebook Q&As.
I always get the notification. And it's like he's live again.
Yeah,
I'm like,
he always. I love when he does that, but it makes it hard to remember what Gunn has said and what fans have said they wanted.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're gonna get more Rocket probably. But however they simplify Mantis' origin, her powers are cool, and Gunn has said that he wants to add more females to the main Guardians group. And I think Mantis is an obvious choice. She's been rumored to be in the movie for a long time. She's also if not the best, one of the best choices. I'd love to see Moondragon show up as well. Who, again, if you don't know her, look her up.
Not as crazy as Mantis.
Not quite as crazy as Mantis. But so I would love to see some of those characters show up. But I think Mantis is an obvious choice. I think she's a great choice. And another rumor, I don't think Gunn has commented on it, a while back, said that Yondu and Nebula would be basically main members of the Guardians.
That'd be awesome.
The other thing about the Rocket story is we know Rocket and Groot in the first movie are kind of the best of friends.
You just stole what I was gonna say because you saw me type it.
No.
Yes, you did. I did it in all caps.
Okay, Addie, go ahead and say it.
And I'm talking about Baby Groot, but like Groot and Rocket were like the best of friends. But now he's like a little like child now.
Right.
He's gonna have to be a little.
It'll definitely change the dynamic.
Well, and the other thing is just depending on how they do Groot.
If he's still Groot.
If he's still Groot, or if he has if he slowly is regaining his memory, or if he just has flashes, or just does he have any of them? Does he recognize people?
Well, I know that, again, in another Gunn comment interview thing, Gunn said that Drax is not going to be the biggest fan of Baby Groot.
Maybe he's like energetic or something.
Yeah, maybe he's like a child.
That's what I'm thinking about with Drax. I don't think Drax is a.
Well, yeah, Drax had no problems with Big Groot.
I think Groot.
Slow
I think Groot is going to be a puppy. I think he's going to be a little golden lab, running around, licking things, biting legs.
Oh my god, I hope so. Especially with the whole dancing thing at the end of the credits. That would kind of make sense.
Do you know what I mean? I think it's just going to be. This
I don't think that's a bad analogy at all.
Yeah.
And then he grows up to a little more lazier dog.
To more Groot. Right.
I want to see him in his teenage years.
Oh god.
He gets
Hopping
all
table
moody.
legs. And
he grows twigs to have a comb over.
Wears all black.
he starts
his leaves are
he turns his leaves dead and black.
Listens to some emo rock.
Yeah, he borrows Quill's mixtape to listen to punk.
This is getting weird.
That just got a little strange, but
I could see it though. I could see
that being like a one shot, like a Marvel one shot, 3 minute of teenage Groot.
Or it will be a very interesting character. I'm still kind of, I want to know who Elizabeth and Chris are playing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about either of them. They haven't really been in big roles anywhere else.
I mean, again, we also are gonna need some kind of antagonist.
Oh, I think that'll be Kurt Russell.
I
think because remember, Yondu, not a great guy.
Right.
Yondu calls Quill's dad a jackass.
Right.
Or an a-hole, or whatever he calls him. He doesn't like Quill's dad.
That's however old Quill is, what, 30, 28? Years ago.
Yeah,
I think the last time Yondu and Stardad got in contact was when Stardad dropped off Peter Quill.
Yeah. I think when Stardad had Yondu.
Yes, sorry. So I think, again, my thing with Kurt Russell being older, wiser kind of thing, I think it might more be like a... here's my hope, because I love Kurt Russell and I don't want to see him play a villain, but this is just me personally. I think it might be Peter Quill goes and like does like a whole, this is how you become like the next level Star-Lord.
Maybe, but you say you don't want to see Kurt Russell play a villain. I'd love to see Kurt Russell play a villain.
I would love to see Kurt Russell play a villain.
And it's no secret, we've talked about it before, everybody's talked about it, Marvel has problems with villains.
Yeah.
But I think adding layers to it, making him Star-Lord's dad, maybe making him redeemable. Because I think what Guardians does best is making bad people redeemable.
Yes.
I mean,
for sure.
All of the Guardians are bandits, outlaws, murderers, assassins.
The movie, a bunch of a-holes.
Right. And then Yondu and Nebula are even worse, and they'll probably get redeemed.
Yeah.
So if you want a movie that takes a villain and makes him complicated and redeemable and interesting, which Marvel has struggled to do, I think Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is the perfect place to look. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 had Ronan. I liked Ronan. Ronan was fine.
But
he was fine.
He was fine. Exactly. He was nothing more than that.
Then again, though, if we're already having so much redemption, do we have another one? Do you know what I mean?
I'm not even saying fully redeem him. I'm just saying make him complex, make him interesting, so
that should be writing any major character should be a complex.
I agree with you, and yet Marvel doesn't always do that.
Marvel has trouble with their villains.
So to have somebody as great and awesome as Kurt Russell playing a complex, interesting character who happens to be an asshole, but he also happens to be Peter's dad.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that is to have him be the villain or a villain is interesting.
I think maybe more of what might happen now that I think about it is he might not be like a bad guy just in terms of their relationship. It'll be that's where the fight will come from, because Quill will be resentful, or Peter Quill will be resentful of father for leaving and bouncing and mom dying.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. But I also think it's fair to say that there's a lot to be excited for.
And then again, Yondu, who kind of is Peter's dad in some sort of way of having raised him from when he was 8 to the Guardians movie, might also come in conflict and be like, hey, you might be legitimate father, but I raised this kid. We'll see if Yondu comes out in a kind of a fatherly figure way.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely think that's possible. I think one of the things that Guardians has done well is character relationships.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think we're all sort of excited in various ways about the characters that are going to be in Guardians 2.
All right. So for our last segment of the day, we're taking some of your questions from Facebook and Twitter and answering them on the show. If you have a question that you want to see answered, make sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter and ask your question using the hashtag MCUEx. Our first question comes from Nix Fox on Twitter, who asks, now that Deadpool has shown that an R-rated hero movie works, do you think any other Marvel properties will follow suit? I mean, they already kind of are with the Netflix.
Yeah.
And I can't think of any movie that's at least slated right now that seems like it would have to be R. Like Deadpool would have to be R.
The only one that I think would fit that mold would be Guardians. But we've already...
You mean in terms of humor?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
We've already seen a PG-13 version of Guardians work phenomenally well.
There's no reason Guardians needs to be R.
Exactly.
And I think
it need to be R.
That was the thing with Deadpool.
Needs to be R.
Yeah.
I think the R would come less from the humor, because I mean, when you look at Ant-Man or the Iron Man movies, or basically all Marvel movies, the humor already works. We don't need R-rated humor.
Yeah.
I think the R rating would come from violence, but I think there's already a place where things get really violent in the Marvel universe, in the MCU, and that's Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think to
And it
answer
works
the
on
question
Netflix.
is we will see a whole slate of superhero R ratings because of the money that Deadpool just
Studios
made.
are reactive.
Low budget, high reward.
But I don't think
I
MCU
don't
will
think
do
we're
that.
going to see it come from Disney and Marvel because they have their fan base that they're not going to want to alienate.
So you think that an R-rated DC movie might be possible?
Yes,
Oh,
I
yeah.
very much think
It's probably already in the works.
might already. I mean, there have been people clamoring for Suicide Squad to be R.
Right.
We'll see what happens with that.
I think it's probably too late for that.
I think it is too late for that, but again, I think now because we've seen it work, the studios won't be as scared, but I think that might be an issue for movies that I think it works so well for Deadpool because of what the character does.
It works
and
specifically
how,
because of Deadpool.
And because of how much Ryan Reynolds is involved with
Yeah.
that. I'm not sure if a studio says, let's set out to make an R movie instead of let's set out to make the best movie we can regardless of the rating.
Well, what you're saying is actually, speaking of James Gunn on Facebook, this whole show is a plug for James Gunn's Facebook page. If you don't follow James Gunn on Facebook, make sure to do that, because he's awesome.
He talks a lot on it too.
Yeah, he
It's
does.
awesome.
But he, after Deadpool came out and was a huge success, he actually made a comment a lot like that, basically saying,
Huge
Deadpool's great, I loved it, but I'm worried studios are going to take the wrong lesson from it.
This is my
And just start making R-rated movies because they think that's what people want. People want good movies. Deadpool worked not because it was R, but because it was great and it was different.
Same thing, I think, with what we've been talking about last week with Civil War is we want a good movie with Guardians and Kurt Russell being the villain. We want a good movie before we want, as low as I am to use this phrase, but fan service of we want an R movie, we want violence, we want with Deadpool we want dick jokes. I want a good movie true to the spirit of the character because comic adaptations are really hard to do.
That's true.
And we've seen that with a bunch of them and with a bunch of directors having troubles with the fans saying that's not the character, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's right. And by the way, I know it's not MCU, but since it was brought up, if you haven't seen Deadpool, see Deadpool. We saw it, we loved it.
We saw it as a group.
We did.
It was great.
Yeah,
Last week after shooting this, we went and saw Deadpool, and it was great. What's next?
I want that poster.
Awesome. So our next question is from David on Facebook. I loved your show. It's awesome. Question for episode 3. Based on the comics in the movie trailer, do you guys think that the Winter Soldier will become the next Captain America after the assassination of Steve Rogers?
Well, thanks for your kind words, David. And to answer your question, well, I think you asked kind of 2 questions there, which is, will Steve Rogers be assassinated? We talked about that a lot last week. That was our main discussion last week, who should die in Civil War. And yes, he does die in the comics, and there's a chance he'll die in the movie. And if he dies, whether it's in this or Infinity War, I think, well, you basically have 2 options. For who's going to take up Captain America's mantle.
I think we talked about this last week too a little bit.
I think we did. But it's Winter Soldier, Sebastian Stan, or Anthony Mackie, the Falcon. And Anthony Mackie actually today did an interview with IGN for his movie 999 that's coming out, talking about whether or not he'd want to do a standalone Falcon movie. And he basically said no, he loves working with all the guys he gets to work with on the Avengers movies. He wouldn't want to do a movie without Chris or without Sebastian. It's adorable. I love Anthony Mackie.
The thing about Sebastian Stan is his contract. I think I went into this last week. He has an optional 9-movie contract.
Yeah, he does.
So I think if Captain America dies, again, see last week for that discussion. I think the person to take over is Sebastian Stan. It's Bucky Barnes.
It would also be like we were talking about redemption earlier, but obviously that'd be a great redemption if he became Captain America.
And I think we'll see the start of that in this movie, in Civil War.
The other thing with Bucky and with his arm is he already has a superpower, where Falcon really only has his suit.
Well, I think beyond just the power. Am I wrong in thinking that he is a super soldier?
Invincible?
He's not invincible,
but he's a super soldier.
He can take Steve Rogers in a fist fight.
Yeah, and so I think the point of that being, I think having Captain America be just a human, and not not
have his shield and an arm and all that stuff.
But like, Bucky Barnes can take the punches, can do everything that Steve Rogers can, which is why he would be next in line.
Also, that the fight in the trailer when it's him and Captain America beating up on Iron Man, and he gets the
they pass the shield back and forth.
I don't know. That's kind of like
so in short, I think the answer to your question, David, is if Steve Rogers dies, which is still a big question. We don't know. But if he does, I think we all agree Winter Soldier is the best person to take over that mantle.
Yeah.
Cool. What's next?
All right. Next, we have a question from Sgt Shockwave on Twitter, who says, "I dreamed Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. investigated Hell's Kitchen. Any hope?"
Okay, so one, awesome name, love it. Two, there was actually you take this, because you were at Comic-Con.
So at New York Comic-Con in October, which I got to go to, there was this awesome Q&A with Clark Gregg, Chloe Bennett, and Jeff Loeb, the head of Marvel Television. And somebody asked Clark Gregg basically that exact question: could we see Coulson show up in Daredevil Season 2 or whatever? And Clark Gregg basically said he'd love to, never say never, but no. And I thought it was really interesting because Jeff Loeb then compared a deal that would allow that to happen to the deal that they made with Sony, an entirely different studio.
Yeah.
So I think that I know the hashtag that Jeff Loeb uses that is popular about the MCU is "it's all connected," and it is, but maybe not quite as connected as we think it is.
Well, one of the thoughts that I've always had, like at least watching Jessica Jones, is that she's this super powered woman.
Right.
That S.H.I.E.L.D. never contacts or is mentioned.
Well,
or
I'm sure
that was one of the looming things.
Yeah,
I mean, this
I'm sure she's on the index.
Yeah, and Kilgrave as well. But it's just like, why haven't, like, have they reached out to her?
Again, I think this is one of the issues of having a universe that goes film, network TV, Netflix online.
Right.
Is that it's very hard to get all these actors different places, to get all these references to things, and I think the MCU has done a phenomenal job so far.
Oh yeah, they have. But
it's just kind of started.
But I think it's trouble to try and get, because once you connect one of those, you have to connect the rest. Right. If you connect Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Netflix series, you have to then connect to the Avengers and to those.
Well, not necessarily, because it is a universe, so it's big, so not everybody knows each other. But yeah, in short, I think the answer is, to quote Jeff Loeb, never say never, but no.
Dream on, Sgt. Shockwave.
Keep dreaming, and it's certainly not impossible, but I think there are legal intricacies to the deal that we don't know about that would make it very difficult.
Yeah.
Great. So our next question is from TylerWenzel on Facebook. How much screen time will Spidey have in Civil War, if you had to guess? And will we get a look at him before the film? I don't think we'll get a look at him because, like we said, I think we mentioned this last week once again, the Russo brothers have said there's like kind of some issues with Sony and Marvel about showing stuff.
There are small little details of the deal between Marvel and Sony that are not totally worked out yet. They said that in, if you guys want to look for yourself, Collider and IMAX did a screening of The Winter Soldier with a Q&A with them afterwards, and they were essentially asked that same question, and they said, we can't tell you because the contracts aren't signed yet, we don't know. And so I think that in the marketing... we have all said we want to see zero Spider-Man beforehand. What I think will happen is that as soon as the movie comes out, every TV spot will have Spidey in it.
Then again, I think we will have all, for the people who want it, we will have all seen it already.
Exactly.
And let's be honest, there's gonna be like, people are gonna leak some stuff once like people see it.
It'll get out. It'll get out for sure.
If you want to be able to see it.
Then again though, Disney, and this is true in how they handled Star Wars, when they want to lock something down, they lock it down.
They do, but even with Star Wars, a couple weeks out before the movie, there were spoilers.
But again, they did a very good job. And I know someone who's good friends with one of the cast members and went to visit him in London, and when he didn't have was not allowed to take his cell phone off the studio lot they shot in, was not allowed to do anything related.
They're not allowed to take, like, most actors aren't allowed to even take the scripts off set. They just get their script for that day.
But like I mean, it's so hard. But Disney does a fairly good job.
And I think if we see it, it'll be a leak, and it will be only a couple weeks beforehand. To answer the other part of your question, I don't know. I think I do think it'll be a small role, but not. It'll be a consequential role. I think maybe 5 or 10 minutes of the movie, and some of those movie minutes will be the main climactic fight scene.
Yeah, I think he was taken out of the trailer. Maybe if he's in that lineup.
Could be. Yeah, I think that lineup shot we saw in the Super Bowl spot in the final version, Spidey could be in there.
Yeah,
I think he'll have a little more screen time though. I think he'll come in the third act of the movie for definitely that big final set piece. Whatever that fight's gonna be, he'll be there. But I also think he'll have a very big lead up into that. That'll change some of the dynamic. Yeah. Because it's a new character. No one's
He's also a kid.
Yeah, but also none of the other characters have. I mean, we've heard him mentioned once in Ant-Man. There was that one thing of we got a guy who can swing.
I don't even know if that was an intentional reference, though.
I think it might have been.
I think it was.
But the point being is none of these characters know him.
Yeah.
So I think even just in terms of writing, you have to introduce him, you have to build him, you have to have him fight, and then there's going to be a consequence.
But at the same time, I don't want to get my hopes up, and then he's literally like in one shot of him. I would get so upset.
I think it'll be much more than that.
I think so too. But now, like talking about it now, like just hearing you guys talk, I'm like, oh, but what if it's not like as big as we're all saying?
Right, and that's what I want to do. I want to keep my expectations low. I'm expecting between 5 and 10 minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets bumped up to 15 or 20.
Which I hope so.
But he's not going to be one of the main characters.
Yeah. Agreed.
Cool. So our final question is from the Iron Noodle on Twitter.
Love the name.
Question for the crew. What is your most anticipated movie for Phase 3? Well,
that's a hard question.
All of them. We kind of talked about it last night.
Yeah.
That it was like Spider-Man. Oh wait, no, Doctor Strange. Oh, but then there's Infinity Wars.
Right.
Oh, but then there's Captain Marvel, like the first like title female superhero movie.
I see, and for that reason, I think I'm gonna go with Black Panther.
Okay.
Because of the team behind it. Because I love Ryan Coogler. I love the team that's doing that movie. He does action in a phenomenal way. He does character in a phenomenal way, and I'm excited. I talked about this a little bit last week. I'm really excited to see how they explore outside of America.
I agree with you, but
again, I'm excited for all.
I'm excited for all, and I'm excited for Black Panther, but the reason that it's not Black Panther as my number 1 is because we get to see Black Panther before his movie.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Same with Spider-Man. In Civil War, we see Spider-Man, we see Black Panther. I love those characters. I'm crazy excited for their movies, but we haven't seen Doctor Strange yet.
I know.
We haven't seen magic yet. I mean, we've seen magic in the MCU, but not really. We've seen what Loki can do. We've seen what Scarlet Witch can do, if we call that magic. We haven't seen real, weird magic. So
and the art for that is
I'm so excited for Doctor Strange.
It is like amazing.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Doctor Strange. I think.
Yeah.
But ask me in 20 minutes and I might change my mind.
Yeah, this is so true.
That's one of the things I was trying to decide yesterday. But I'm gonna have to go with Spider-Man because I just love Spider-Man. There are things in both of the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. I love certain things in that one. I love certain things in the original Spider-Man. Only very certain things. I'm actually not a huge fan of those.
I agree that the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans have not aged very well, but those are just objectively much better movies.
Subjectively, I have a personal vendetta against Tobey Maguire.
That's what mine is too.
I cannot stand him.
And Andrew Garfield was a great Spider-Man. That's not what I'm talking about right now.
Fine, but Tobey Maguire was a good Peter Parker.
Yes, I will.
Different argument for a different time.
Yes,
completely different. But yes, okay, go ahead.
I'm excited to see the hopefully perfected Spider-Man that I can just be like, this is the best one.
Right.
There's no debate about it.
Yeah.
And he's actually young, and they should be coming out with more news soon because it's coming out in a little bit more than a year.
Yeah, that's right. A year and a half.
And it's starting to it's filming where I'm living. I'm super excited about that. The one that I actually don't, it's the one that I don't know the most about that I'm not as excited about is Inhumans because we don't know anything about it.
That's so far away, so it's hard to get excited about that.
When is it? 2019? 2020?
It was really 2019. Yeah. I know it got moved around. I think it's still 2019.
Okay.
Just in the because they have the spring slot and the end of summer slot.
Well, no, they have
three for 2019?
For 2017 and beyond, they have in 2017 they have Guardians 2, Thor Ragnarok, and Spider-Man.
And Spidey, yeah.
2018 they have Black Panther, Infinity War Part 1, and what's the third one? No, that's 2017.
Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And then 2019 is
There's just so much.
2019 is Captain Marvel: Infinity War Part 2.
So
and
then it'll be,
and then 3 in 2020 that we don't know yet.
But
it'll be early March, midsummer, probably end of summer.
Something like that,
The thought
yeah.
about Inhumans, though, it is ending phase 3, so it's...
Is it, or is it beginning phase 4?
Yeah.
Okay, but whatever, like, it is a new franchise, but it doesn't have, like, Captain Marvel we don't know anything about still, but it's the first female-driven
Yeah.
movie, which is pretty, that's something exciting.
And again, the
Infinity
thing
Wars
about-
is all stuff to get something excited about. In Humans, we already see in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.,
Yeah.
so it's like, what are they gonna
We
do
also
with it?
don't
We
know, like, what, we have no idea what, like, all we know is it's about the royal family.
Yeah.
Like, and that's
And we don't even know.
Yeah, that's
we just
like,
assume.
Yeah.
So I'll see Spidey.
Yeah.
All right,
Doctor
great.
Strange.
I'll go Doctor Strange.
Still gonna stick with Black Panther. But
enough.
again, talk to me in 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna want to re-record this segment.
Yeah, that's an unfair question, the Iron Noodle. We only took it because we love your name.
Yes, thank you for that name.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
That's the end of this week's episode of MCUEx, everybody. We want to give a huge thank you to our friends at Stone Street for letting us film here. If you like what you saw, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and check out MCUExchange.com for the up-to-minute updates on everything related to the MCU. I'm Addie Hays, and you can follow me at Addie Bree on Instagram and Twitter.
I'm Jeremy Stewart. You can follow me Instagram, Twitter at Jeremy_Stewart.
And I'm Doug Herring. You can't follow me, but you can follow the MCU Exchange at the MCU Exchange on Twitter, or just at MCU Exchange on Facebook.
And we will see you all next week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.